The Venn diagram between people who want to see Doctor Who dead and those who just genuinely have no idea how viewing figures work is essentially a circle at this point. So let's actually go in this with facts and logic and numbers. Aha, there's nothing sexier than charts and numbers. So we do have the 7-day viewing figures for all 3 of the Doctor Who 60th anniversary specials. And for the 3rd week in a row, amazingly, Doctor Who was the #1 most viewed drama of the week and also charted in the top 10, only behind the episodes of Strictly Come Dancing and I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, meaning that it was kind of technically 3rd, but if you want to call it 9th or 10th, depending if it's the week for the Wild Blue Yonder or Star Beast or the Giggle, whatever works for you, but it was indisputably the #1 most viewed drama of the weeks that they were broadcast, which honestly I don't think has happened since, 2011, 2012? Like, it's kind of amazing. One thing we need to consider when we talk about Doctor Who viewing figures, will there be a pie chart? Unfortunately, there will be no pie. There will be plum pudding, though. But when it comes to Doctor Who viewing figures, what people need to understand is that even when Doctor Who was, like, at its peakest peak, like, Winnie, why are you so mad? Even when Doctor Who was on its peakest peak, it was very, very rarely the #1 most viewed drama of the week. When Doctor Who came back in 2005 with like 10.6 million for Rose, I think that was the viewing figures for the 7 days during that time. It still was not the #1 scripted program of the week. It lost out to like 2 episodes of EastEnders and Coronation Street. So to see Doctor Who surpass every single episode of Coronation Street this year, in terms of its 7-day viewing figures, is kind of outstanding. We've got the viewing figures here. So special 1 with 7.61 million, special 2 with 7.14 million, and then special 3 with 6.85 million. I will say I am genuinely quite surprised that there was a drop with every single episode. Now, I thought that Wild Blue Yonder would be the middle chapter that not that many people saw because it didn't really have that much of a hook. It was very secretive in terms of the marketing. There is no celestial toy maker, there is no Daleks, there's no Cybermen, or there's no, Beep the Meep or whatever. It held its cards very close to its chest, and there wasn't any sort of, for lack of a better term, a hook. But I'm actually kind of surprised that the Giggle with Neil Patrick Harris, with the Toy Maker, with the regeneration now revealed to be a bi-generation, although audiences didn't know that going in, of course. I'm kind of surprised. Now, it's not a big drop from Wild Blue Yonder. It's only a 4% drop from this to this, but still, that's quite surprising. There's, of course, a lot of factors to consider here. This is, of course, the 7-day viewing figures, and the 28-day viewing figures are going to be the more interesting ones to look at because, well, these are... This is basically a full arc. This is basically a full run of hour-long episodes, which tend to do really, really well when it comes to the binge model. Once all of the episodes are up, then people go and watch the full thing in one go. This is demonstrable. Like, we can look at the figures for shows like Peter Kay's Car Share, like Luther from a few years ago. If you put all of the episodes in at once, while we don't really know what the long-term impact is for the viewing figures, we do know that the short-term from the 7 to 28-day viewing figures do incredibly well, not just on the BBC, but but for ITV as well. The Thief, the Man and the Canoe a couple of years ago did incredibly well when ITV put all of those episodes on the iPlayer in one go. However, what's interesting is that when we compare this to other dramas, for example, the brand new one, Vigil Series 2, this not only was beaten by the last episode of Doctor Who, but was beaten by nearly 1 million. Vigil, which we need to remind you is the follow-up series to a show that was viewed by about 9 to 10 million people in 2021, was not able to best Doctor Who during its weakest, in terms of audience, weakest showing of the past couple of weeks. That's genuinely impressive. And then we get to Shetland, which is another like 600k down. Doctor Who being the #1 most viewed drama for the week 3 times in a row. This is genuinely quite impressive. And even, I actually thought that Vigil would end up overtaking Doctor Who because, like I said, Series 1 opened with like 9 million people. It could have to do with the marketing, it could have to do with the demographics or whatever. But speaking of demographics, I don't know what the source is on this, but according to William Who on Twitter, the Doctor Who 60th anniversary specials have become the #1 drama of the year for 16 to 34-year-olds. The 3 specials averaged around 1.7 million in the under 35s, the best performing drama on any channel in this hardest to reach category since Line of Duty. I don't know what the source is for this. I have reached out to William to, where did you get this information from? But I'm genuinely like, if this is actually true, this means that Doctor Who's future, at least in terms of the BBC, is secure for a while to come, because the BBC obviously is paid for by the license fee, and the hardest to reach demographic for the BBC is that 16 to 34 demographic, is the youths, is the TikTokers, is the millennials, or the young millennials at this point. Now, when it comes to the BBC, so much of its highest performing shows, Strictly Come Dancing, Planet Earth, Have I Got News for You, EastEnders, BBC News at 6, which somehow makes it into the top 30, Weakest Link, MasterChef. It's for an older audience who likes entertainment. So to get a drama that younger people want to watch, that is a demographic that the BBC is really, really desperate to tap into. So the fact that the Doctor Who has become the #1 drama in that demographic, it means that Doctor Who's future, for the next few years at least, is assured. We do know that Ncuti Gatwa has basically filmed 2 seasons of future stories, another 18 episodes if we count the Christmas specials as well. So we do know that Doctor Who's going to be around for some time. But if this is true, then I think that we are going to be getting those spin-offs that have been long rumoured. The BBC are wanting to make sure that this demographic is locked in to be supporters of the BBC and people who want to pay the licence fee. It makes no sense why Conservatives keep saying recipe sorry, because it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't have to make any sense. They're putting the narrative first and are trying to post hoc justify their reasoning after the fact. It doesn't make any sort of sense, no matter how you view it. Even if you didn't like the Jodie Whittaker era, the viewing figures were still relatively strong compared to other dramas that are broadcasting around the time. The audience share was pretty strong. It was one of the most talked about shows on social media week in, week out. The only viewing figures for the Jodie Whittaker era that I could categorically call bad were Legend of the Sea Devils and The Timeless Children. And just to emphasize how manic the actual chart placements and viewing figures are, Giggle was at 10, Wild Blue Yonder was at 9, Starbeast was at 10, Power of the Doctor was at 5. Obviously, Power of the Doctor was not competing with I'm a Celebrity and Strictly, but it was competing with Doc Martin, which did wind up being the most viewed drama of the week. So yeah, it's kind of mad, like in terms of the actual chart placements. This is also interesting consolidation here with the AI appreciation scores. These ones in the mid-80s are the highest audience appreciation scores since the Capaldi era. Since Flatline specifically. According to the AI, this is the best that Doctor Who has been since mid to late Series 8. Of course, it remains to be seen how The Church on Ruby Road will do. I doubt it will be the #1 most viewed drama of the week, or maybe even of the day. What is the actual Christmas lineup? 1 second. Let's have a look at this. If we go into the Radio Times, so on Christmas Day, Gruffalo, How to Train Your Dragon, Chariots of Fire, Cinderella. Thank you to Brett A. Hart for subscribing during the live stream. Cinderella, Chariots of Fire, Addams Family 2, Sleeping Beauty, Toy Story 4, Death on the Nile, Strictly Come Dancing Christmas Special, Doctor Who, Michael McIntyre's The Wheel, Coronation Street, Masked Singer, Core the Midwife. Now, I expect Core the Midwife, at least in terms of the overnight and the 7 days, to reign supreme on Christmas Day. Core the Midwife is a friggin' juggernaut in terms of TV dramas in the UK. There are, of course, more boomers in this country than there are millennials, so Core the Midwife is going to win. But I do think that Doctor Who is going to put in a pretty impressive showing on Christmas Day, and because people are able to go back and binge the last 3 episodes, that will end up boosting Starbeast, Wild Blue Yonder, and The Giggle as well. Russell T. Davis posted on Instagram a week ago, 9 million viewers so far officially for the Starbeast on iPlayer and Disney+. Now, he clarifies in comments that he didn't mean the Disney Plus viewership. We don't really know what the full numbers are for that. The reason we don't know the full numbers on Disney Plus is because they are not obligated to give actual statistics and actual figures internationally. We have stronger unions in the UK when it comes to the media and entertainment industry. That's why we have the BARB for transparency and stuff. But 9 million people have apparently viewed the Starbeast on BBC iPlayer, which would bump up this 7.61 million figure to at least 9 million for the 28 days and counting. So, with The Giggle done and dusted, we can expect this number to climb and climb. Obviously, a 28 days viewing figure will not be as comparable as, say, for example, a 7-day viewing figure for The Waters of Mars and The End of Time and stuff. But it just kind of shows how different TV viewing figure habits and how we collate this data has just changed over the past decades. Is that live action or animated? I think it's the remake. Probably cheaper that way, honestly, to get the remake. I would actually say that this Cinderella film is pretty good. Yeah, the Kenneth Branagh one from 2015. This and The Jungle Book, genuinely good Disney remakes that I think are better than the original. The rest, pretty pants. They have Doctor Who scheduled for 5:55, isn't that a bit early? Yeah, it's sandwiched between all these entertainment shows, and then there's Ghosts and Call the Midwife, and that's like the finale, isn't it? Ghosts, that's the last episode. Yeah, it draws to a close with a festive special. There's a lot of stuff happening in terms of the lineups because TV dramas are actually able to properly be made over the past year or two. It's why there was so few scripted dramas on TV last year. Doesn't Call the Midwife only air on Christmas Day now, like only one episode a year? I don't follow it well enough to know, but let's Call the Midwife. No, the series for Call the Midwife, according to this, the series starts with a Christmas special, and then a week later they go into the rest of it. So the Christmas special in 2020, 8.19 million. 2022, 7.81 million. 7.81 million again the year after. Yeah. So basically, if the Church on Ruby... Oh, that's interesting. If Call the Midwife does comparably, 7.81 million, then Doctor Who might be within spitting distance of it. Obviously, we won't know for another week. Well, another 2 weeks because of the 7-day viewing figures. We've got to wait for those. But yeah, for me, Call the Midwife will be the one to beat. The number could be 600 million. YouTube people will still be saying Doctor Who. Oh yeah, if it was genuinely getting like the same viewing figures that it got in 2008, 2009, they'd be saying, well, the population has gone up since then, so why aren't more people... There would genuinely, for reactionaries, there would be no viewing figures good enough because those videos, those opinions they had were already pre-made, were already pre-written before a single second had been broadcast, before even a second had been filmed as well. It was very, very funny to see people react to this saying, oh, Rusty Davis is lying, which, firstly, he's a producer. He's going to know the viewing figures way more than we will. And plus, in a few weeks' time, we will know because of the BARB 28-day viewing figures. But also, I think it's utter projection as well. People who want Doctor Who to fail, what we do with the viewing figures data? Oh, we'll just lie about it. It's projection. It's like, oh, what would we do with the data? We would lie about it. So, of course, Russell T Davis would lie about it as well. Like, it's staggering. It's a massive moment of projection on their part. What was the view count for Twice Upon a Time? Oh, yeah, that's a good comparison to look at. The last time Doctor Who was on Christmas. Oh, no, it doesn't even go back that far. Oh, folks, we've got to go to the archive viewing data. Haha. Wait. Okay, 1 second. It was 2017, wasn't it? Christmas 2017. New Year's Eve Fireworks was number 1, then Call the Midwife was number 1. 7-day viewing figures of 7.57, then 10.38 million. Doctor Who came 6th. That's actually, honestly, that's pretty good going. Doctor Who Twice Upon a Time coming 6th. 7.92. And then this is not a big 28 days jump. This is where the main change will have been in viewing habits over the past 5 years. The 28-day bump will be way more substantial. Right, Winnie, why are you flashing the nice people at home? One key thing, if you're looking at somebody talking about viewing figures, if they don't talk about what was also broadcast at around the same time, or compare it to other viewing figures, that's how you know that they're trying to swindle you. You need this associated context. You need to know what other shows are doing comparably well, or what is being broadcast at the same time, or the weekly rankings. Because if you were to just say Doctor Who was viewed by 7 million people, with no context, that number is useless. That number on its own is functionally useless, practically useless. You need to know what ranked above it, what ranked below it, what's the audience share, for example. The actual sociological phenomenon, in terms of the shift for audience viewing habits over the past few years, it was COVID. And not just the fact that more people were watching like stuff on demand and more streaming stuff. It was the fact that you had these old people who were isolating and staying home, and their kids over Zoom and online were telling them how to get onto Netflix, how to get onto Disney Plus, how to get onto iPlayer and stuff. And they were being acclimatized through isolation, through the periods of the pandemic and lockdowns, to view stuff on demand as opposed to live TV. That's the sociological phenomena that has caused this to change over the past 2 to 3 years. And we can see this in the viewing figures as well, and how the streaming numbers are doing. That's the big shift that's happened over the past few years. And if you are looking at current day viewing figures and not taking that into consideration, you are viewing this through foggy glass. You are viewing this through an obscured lens that doesn't quite reflect reality. So this was Doctor Who 2009. It was Doctor Who was not only not the most viewed drama of the week in terms of the Christmas special, it wasn't even the most viewed drama on BBC One that week. EastEnders overtook it. So The End of Time Part 1 was bested by EastEnders that week. Yeah, so even when David Tennant was about to regenerate, they still couldn't be bested by a soap opera. Like I said, you've got to consider that Doctor Who is very rarely the most viewed drama in the week it broadcasts. Once again, David Tennant actually regenerates on New Year's Day, and it still loses out to EastEnders for that same night. It almost loses out to Coronation Street as well. Yeah. So the fact that Doctor Who can now be the #1 most viewed drama of the week 3 weeks in a row is impressive. It's kind of mad. Miss Titus, why are you looking at the BARB website? Because that's the... What do you mean? What? Because we're talking about Doctor Who viewing figures. Where else would I look? Would I go out onto the streets? Would I open up my window on Christmas Day and say, "You boy, what are the viewing figures for the giggle?" And then you just hear a Canadian Nazi go, "3 people." You know, oh, it's Bolstruck again, off to shit in the basement. What the fuck, got beaten by EastEnders? That's what I'm telling you. If you're somebody who's like into like big genre TV, you do need to understand that you are relatively in the minority of TV drama viewers. And just to further hit home the point, chat, please remind me, when did Rose broadcast? March, wasn't it? It was the last, yeah. Doctor Who, on the week it came back in 2005, was bested in the viewing figures by 2 episodes of EastEnders that were broadcast on weekdays, no less. And it was bested by Coronation Street not just once, not just twice, but thrice, but 5 times. 5 episodes of Coronation Street, the week Doctor Who came back and had its record-breaking revival. It wasn't even the most watched drama on its channel. It wasn't even the most watched drama of the week. You've got to acknowledge this fact that Doctor Who very rarely is the biggest fish in the pond that it's broadcasting in. Got beaten by EastEnders twice, and not even weekend episodes, weekday episodes. That's unthinkable now. It would be hilarious if Doctor Who beats EastEnders on Christmas View. That's probably quite likely. If we go to the previous Christmas, obviously it's a bit skewed, because last Christmas, I gave you my heart, was there was very little actual scripted stuff able to be made that year because of reasons. But also, interestingly though, one of the very few times I've ever seen a streaming show in the top 10, and it was Netflix's Glass Onion film on Netflix was the big Christmas Day film, which is actually pretty impressive. I expect to see the new Chicken Run film on these charts in the next day or so, in the next week or so, sorry. So yeah, on Christmas Day, Call the Midwife, The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Saturday, I forget what the name of the full title is, Strike, Michael McIntyre's The Wheel, Doc Martin, Ghost, EastEnders did not even make the top 5, the Christmas special. So yeah, EastEnders has kind of fallen off a little bit compared to where it was 15 years ago. Doctor Who wasn't on last Christmas. I know, I'm just looking at what was big last year, and these are the metrics that we need to view Christmas at now. Like, how did it do compared to last year? The King did really well, though, because they got rid of the woke version, because they made the monarch a man again. Who the hell says thrice? Me! But I don't know what the thrice... What follows thrice? Nothing comes after thrice. Thank you, Google. Thank you for being so blunt. Quice, thrice, four-ice, quas, quadrice.